If you're shopping for a new monitor, you might be wondering what the ideal size is for your photo editing needs. Now, I personally use 24 and 27-inch monitors, but other people might have different preferences. So the question you might have is, what's the best monitor size for you? Now, back in the day, monitors used to be pretty small, especially when these LCD monitors started taking over all the CRT monitors. We used to see these 15-inch screens, 17, 19-inch screens. Today, we don't really have those concerns with cost anymore, and the production costs are much lower. Whether you're looking at a consumer grade or professional screen, a lot of them have come down significantly in price. So there's really no reason, unless you have space limitations, to go for anything lower than 24-inch. In my opinion, 24-inch is a sweet spot because the monitor is large enough for photo editing, and there are so many great options out there from so many different manufacturers that you can choose a great monitor without breaking the bank. Now, there's one monitor feature that I want to talk about, and this one actually has nothing to do with color or calibration, and that's resolution. When it comes to screen resolution, it's important to point out that resolution might not have a direct correlation with monitor size. For example, this 27-inch iMac has a 5K screen, but there are plenty of 27-inch monitors out there that have much less resolution. On the other hand, some smaller screens that we find, for example, on laptops could have as much resolution as the larger screens like this. For example, this Dell XPS 13 monitor that I have has a 13-inch screen, and it has a 4K resolution. Now think about this, 4K here versus a 5K screen that's 27-inch. That's more than twice the size. And yet the pixels on this screen are so small that it definitely does impact the way I edit images. So keep this in mind when looking at monitor size and resolution, because the two might not necessarily be related. So how can a smaller display size with a lot of resolution potentially impact your editing process? Well, first of all, the software that you use for editing might not have the capability to take advantage of that higher resolution. For example, with a lot of 4K and now 5K screens out there, a lot of software has not yet been modified to be able to upscale itself for that resolution. And what you might find is, while on a large screen it might not be such a big deal, on a laptop screen everything is going to become so small that you can barely see it. In addition, smaller screens with a lot of resolution can potentially negatively impact your work, and the reason for that is because if you take two equivalent size screens, for example, two laptops, one has a very high resolution screen, 4K, and the other has the traditional HD screen at 1920 pixels wide, then compare the same image on both screens. So what you're going to see is that the lower resolution screen is going to have that image magnified because the pixels are going to be much larger in size here than on the higher resolution screen. Now, what does it mean? It means that if I'm looking at that image on the high resolution screen, it's going to potentially appear smaller in size physically because of that massive resolution of the screen itself. And I might miss all the intricate details in that image compared to this image. And I have personally noticed this when I was working on images on my Dell XPS 13 laptop. Because of its 4K screen, when I was sharpening images, for example, I did not see that I was over sharpening images until I looked at those same images on a low resolution screen. Now, the good news is that whether you're looking at a large display like this or a smaller display you find on laptops, for example, you're often able to downscale the resolution, say from 4K to HD. But if you do decide to downscale your display from its native resolution to low resolution, you might end up with a fuzzy image. And the reason for that is because you're essentially taking one pixel and spreading it over multiple pixels. So to prevent that, you might want to actually go through the different resolution options you have on your screen and choose one that introduces the least problems. So keep all this in mind. Whether you're shopping for a new laptop or perhaps a new monitor, their size and resolution are important for you to consider. Now, a lot of manufacturers today are pushing a lot of resolution. We see 4K screens, we see Retina screens, and in the future we'll start seeing 8K and even higher resolution screens. Does it mean that you need to upgrade every single time there's something new out there? Absolutely not. While these things look great on paper, as I've pointed out, they can potentially introduce problems not only to your editing but also to your workflow.